With Dawntrail being well into the swing of things, there's been a cyclical hype for the game that happens every 2 years when a new expansion drops. I personally didn't expect the hype to be as large as the previous expansion Endwalker, but it's been reported that Dawntrail is one of the largest launches. The audience of Final Fantasy XIV has steadily grown to the point that it is now a behemoth of an MMO. While maybe it once held second place compared to World of Warcraft, it is kind of undeniable that FF14 is reaching the same peaks that WoW has had. So the question is, why do people like Final Fantasy XIV? Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO that has a legacy. The Final Fantasy series is a staple of the JRPG genre, a genre whose biggest pull is the fact that it has a great story. Final Fantasy XIV, although an MMO, still adheres to this legacy, creating an overarching story over the base game and its subsequent expansions. There are streamers who have spent weeks playing the story and showing their reactions to the point where it's a subgenre of the game's internet content. The aesthetic also plays a role in this. FF14, like other Final Fantasy games, is hyper-anime. Dark Knight is basically a Berserk reference. You got people summoning robots, and there's a class with a gun sword. It has that distinct fantasy flavor. While not everybody's into it, it's popular enough where it grabs people who are not necessarily fans of Final Fantasy, just people who are fans of the aesthetic. Knowing that the game is an MMO may put off certain people. It doesn't have to do with the story, but more with the gameplay itself. This is also something that the game does a little differently in my opinion. Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO with the current era in mind. There are many live service games that are vying for people's attention. 14 is a little different. It doesn't shy away from the fact that it is one of many games.
Elden Ring DLC.
Even the devs themselves have told players to try other games during content lulls. This makes Final Fantasy XIV much easier to get into than other MMOs. You aren't burdened by the system and tricks that other live service games utilize to get people to stay playing. There is grinding content in the game, things that are repeated, farming for cool mounts, grinding the PvP gear because it looks really nice, but the crux of the game, the thing that pulls you in, is the story content. Then once you're in and have gotten attached to the world and the characters, you have the choice to either stop playing until the next story update, or do the million things that the game offers you to do. You have raids, whether easy or hard, crafting and gathering, getting money to get a house, golden saucer, fashion, all of these things are available to you. There's essentially 10 years of optional content to get into, with no strings attached. You do stuff because you want to do it, not because there's a constantly moving finish line to leave you behind. It's an amusement park and you choose what ride you want to go on. This also means that if you take a break for let's say 6 months like me, you can just hop back in. There's no worry about coming back. Players know that they won't be burned for not logging in for a certain amount of days, weeks, or months. It won't affect your progression at all. You can take a break, come back, and do the latest content just by playing as usual. So with this video talking about why 14 has garnered so much devotion, the follow-up is whether you, yes you, should try it. FF14 is a free game up to level 70, which includes the story of the base game and the first 2 expansions. The amount of content you have for not paying is frankly insane. It's going to take a long time to beat A Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, and then Stormblood. So in reality, there is no risk to trying the game out, because it's free. If you were convinced by my rambling, then I have but one single piece of advice, and that is to take your time. The free content in this game is large. There's a lot of stuff to dig into. So while it may seem appealing to rush all the way up to Dawntrail, I wouldn't really recommend it. There's a lot of stuff to dig into, and like we established, the content isn't going anywhere. Just play the game and enjoy the experience at your own pace. Don't try to rush to the current expansion. Just take it easy. And with that, I'll end my piece. Thank you for watching the video, like always. I do, outros and stuff.